Hello, this is Gerald Theophilus. In a couple of videos that I provided already, I was a little bit like digging through a mountain, and you could experience with me that we're going to experience things that we didn't know before, that I didn't know before sometimes, because I was uh, providing ideas about where exactly each point of every letter is lying in space and time, how we can combine them in a different way as also I have tried before. But I think it is not up to you to come with me and go through the dark tunnels. No, it's better to see the light as quickly as possible, that it shines through, that you can see the things very clearly. It needs a little bit a refocus of the theory, that it is becoming a little bit more practical than the random reasoning that follows the order. No, I will refocus the basics a little bit in a little bit more clear way as before. So that's why it is maybe good to follow here the letter positions as how they are really in an exact point of position, how they combine in an exact way, and how you can understand them in a more exact way, so that you can understand the positions of each letter, but also don't make mistakes also, because the points are just exactly there where they should be and nowhere else. But I have to define the details a little bit better, so that you don't have a bit too much freedom anymore, because I left a bit too much freedom before. So I'm going through all the letters in a couple of videos and show you where the foundations lie of each letter, of the positions in time and space. And I will start with the spatial frame. There are three frames, and I will start with the spatial frame in this video with just a few examples, not much more than that. And I'll go very quickly through the basics. So our orientation upon letters is of an association in a way that we notice just very vaguely its balance and its association field. And the vagueness is expressed, that's how we experience that, as that balance seeking, self-organization aspect that goes around certain balances. And the vocals are very much expressing that balance. And we have a first kind of balance around one point, and that's the point in space. And there we put all that we think is stable and is steady, and so on, we put that around it. And it's all in a spatial frame and so on. Everything is built around that, around the letter A. This is our certainty. This is what we think is certain, and so on. Once it is not really certain and we have to change things, or there's a different opinion, or it has moved, we need the aspect of time, and we need comparisons that are much more than a positioning. So this is no longer about positioning, this is also about what is then the change. So there is somewhere a difference between a starting point and an ending point, a starting point, or conditions that we need to understand this second point. So we compare these things. This is a different way of thinking, a different orientation, and the vague idea about that is defined around the letter E, which is the starting point of starting to make a timing, and O, the ending point in which the conditions are defined, are expressed actually around that way of thinking. The E in the background are the new ideas, are the contextual ideas, the background ideas that has to fill in, so you have to reorganize yourself a little bit there's a bit of an open context there, and this is expressed vaguely around that area that is expressed by the vocal of E. You can also have geometrical associations with that. The geometrical associations or the mathematical associations are there as well. And the spatial frame in which you make the coordinates, the coordination, the objectivity is all around what we define as a number one. Because everything has a stable point, and this stable point is around the number one. So it is divided by number one, it is stable. So around that number one, we know the objects, the definitions are stable. When you're not stable and we need timing, that's defined mathematically also differently with that element of timing. They are no longer around that stable point of 1. They go from an estimation between 0 and 1. And they go from, so they make the conditions towards 1. And then they are defined there via that timing and via that definition of what we need to go and to do before we can come to 1. So that's a different way of thinking, a different kind of mathematics even, it is different. In the background is even a third way of thinking, and that is when we can't define a starting point and an ending point. So what do we have? We have not just a defined definition of where we have to go to and make conditions and so on. No, here the conditions are actually very dependent on context. And that's the last category. The category is context. And according to context, it can be something else. So the ending part or the real part or where we land to is always different and depending upon context. So we estimate that as a formula. Thanks to this formula, this is a different way of thinking, that thanks to this formula, we know that all things that are changing all the time, we cannot define immediately, okay, it starts there and it ends there. No, we can't find the starting point, we can't find the ending point. It's all an estimation, but we can still define it that it will bring us to a position, a timing, and all these things to a reality that can be defined via a formula. I think that explains it quite best way. And the mathematics around it is actually that we have a definition between the two infinity points. And an infinity point which actually could also be defined as when the one infinity point is when we don't have it or never, when it's never there. That's also a kind of the infinity point. Or when it's always there in the background, it's also an infinity point. Somewhere in between these two infinity points, and that's also kind of a calculation, we know that there is a point where the things exist. They don't exist always now, but the definitions can be derived also to the point of now, but maybe they are after some conditions that are in the timing, or even they are just a definition. So they are not even there at a certain timing, but they can become a definition somewhere that it can be derived afterwards. So in between the two infinity orientations, we have, of course, when it's not there yet, then we have it, it's there, it comes from somewhere before, or when it is made afterwards, you have it, then you have it after and afterwards. It's a bit the timing in a sort of organization that makes it quite practical. You have it never or always, it's before or after. It's the preparation from 0 point onwards to 1, the conditions in 1, or or we have it immediately now as a fact. So all these positions, they are very practical, and these positions are also definitions that are used in our orientation on letters. All these letters are organized on one of these regions, and that's what I will define in these couple of videos. So there you see in the perspective there is already the number 1, it's defined, and that's the fact where it is now in space. Although it is related with possible timings, can it become more or longer? Does it exist longer? Does it come from somewhere? Or is it not now, but maybe at some point? All these things are defined by reasonings that we use letters for it. And what we also need as a guiding tool is the starting point, is like we are the starting point. We prepare ourselves. We put our mind to it that something can come to, if it's not now there, maybe it is now, then we go to the conditions, or we look at the conditions that are presented to us. These conditions that are presented to us, they are the other. It can be someone else, it can be a different position, and so on. So these positions that we have here defined are very much how we think. We deal with these balances. This is one of the balances that we use in finding the balance between the letters. Before it, we have a look upon everything. We face mostly upon what we have now, and we try to have it now. We try to be objective, but it's not always there now. So we hear that it's the other says different things. The conditions are different. So we work towards it. We describe it, how we go towards it, and the words describe how we try to understand and go towards it, and in which way we go towards that. So basically we have these, I have here the basic vocals, so these vague descriptions. There are also positions in which a lot of letters can be put into it. These letters are organized in the Pythagorean order from the Pythagorean school, and they are also used in numerology. But I use them in a much more complex way than numerology. I have them also as balances, and these balances are described in a lot of ways in my book. They have mathematical balances. They have numerical balances in several ways, in which the number 3 is the foundation to find a balance into the self-organization principle that you have there. The first letter in A, around A, have one focal point, because you want to have them stable, you want to have them just in position in space and nothing else, in which there are also 3 positions in the middle, a bit further away, or at the edges or at the limits. Ways of thinking that are different in these 3 regions, and all the letters can be organized upon that. Or you have the double vocal point in timing, or the triple vocal point, in which it is the backing, in which you find a balance, and you see, okay, where more or less do I have at this point an organization that I have a balance there. 3 different ways of thinking, and I go through all these 3 different ways of thinking in a little bit more exact way in this video. So of course here are the first letters of each point, first letter of each position, the A, first letter of the first category, the D, the second letter of the second category, the Q as the first letter of the third category, and the next ones. That's the way how we organize it. And even if we make words, I split them here a little bit. It's a bit like a trick. Of course you see all these things at once, but how can you see the differences by splitting 1, 2, 3? Again, it gives you a way, it gives you an opportunity to see what are the differences. And when you organize the letters in that way, it works. And why does it work? For instance, if we start from a timed letter, with a letter involved in timing, for instance, the D, for instance, here, and then we have A, that's okay. But if we have, for instance, the D, the N, and then the A afterwards, if you can't read it like you have dan, that's of course dan is the same way as then. So then you have timing and the spatial frame immediately. So it's then you have it already. You know when it is. But if, for instance, have the letters D and N first and then the A has to move. That means that you don't have the A or the placement or the now immediately, so you have something in the future. It's logical, of course, that you have, that's like words. So if you say, okay, we first have timing and then we have a place, if you do that, when you first need a timing and then a placement, of course, this placement will move in time. That's the way of thinking you have to know, and that's why it works also, the order of letters. But also there, I started to do that already in a few examples, but I was a bit too vague in the distances and so on, and so I'm going to be more thorough and more exact, that you have the distinction in a very exact way and that we know what we're doing. It's not a puzzle for idiots, but when it's exact science, when it becomes exact, that you really say, no, it can only be there. If it's too vague and you have too many options, then of course you can do idiotic things, make mistakes, have fantasy, go too far with your mind, be blurry. It's not clear enough anymore. No, it has to be exact. If it's exact, then even people who don't understand it fully will still have to do the right thing and make it clear and show the clarity a bit more clear. And that's what I'm going to do, that everybody can simply use the puzzle. And I tried it already a couple of times. If I do it really correctly and I make the simple puzzle, then you can see immediately what's going, a little bit more quickly what's going on, and that will help. So I will have to be more correct, more exact, and that's what I will do. Because of course, if you have extra letters to it, where are the positions? How far shall I present them? And so on. You have three categories: A, T, K, U, L, B, C, M, X. So of course they are smaller, or at the edges. We have a tendency, that's the tendency that I show here, that of course the three categories, it's always a smaller area, but it's also it's going towards the limits. It's going far away. How far away shall I do that? Before you know it, it's becoming blurry. So now I will start to say how I will go and keep on the focus. A few extras again. What we have to do is, of course, we follow the order of letters. When we have the letters around the middle part, then we know we have the facts there. When we are more around the vagueness of we are around the preparations, around the conditions. All these things matter, of course. And of course, these will move. So when we don't have the center around A so much, the things have to become. So they will become. So we will prepare it more. We follow the conditions, and then after a while, we can read it that it will become after these conditions. We can read them. And what we will do as guiding help, we use points for the positions. Use arrows for the movement and the changes in time, but I will also use them for the last category, which I can also call the reorganization area, where the placement and timings are not defined in the first place, and that makes it also a bit more complex. But I've figured it out to dismiss the complexity so that I will be more exact in future. So One last thing is that I can also use these methods, but only with the exact method if you want to repeat it, because you cannot show something if it cannot be repeated so easily, then something is missing. So I will try to avoid that in future, that you're not going through the tunnel with me in the darkness. No, I should show you the light enough so that you can repeat it, and also, yeah, or even have an alternative at the end. It takes some while to show you the full light, but I will do that in a couple of videos, and then you will get there. While we, in our Roman letter ideal, we see also each letter as a vocalized letter, as a written down letter, as positions in that area that I say it, all within that area of the tree in the background and so on, within that very big frame. You can see the positions, separate the positions, and we play a little bit with that with these separations, that we can also adapt more quickly and so on. We don't deal so much with the conditions, but we figure out the conditions as when we go. The Chinese and Japanese scripts are entirely focused upon the definition of conditions. These conditions are written down in the script. Also, when at the same time vocals are used and so on, and they are in the same positions as well, but they are descriptive around it. The focus is entirely on, no, go to the conditions, follow the conditions. This is our main goal. We go for that part. And I did already a few tries, so can I figure this out when I put the script or the characters there, and then the letters around it? Can I see that that I can understand it better? Yes, it will become more clear, and I also simplified it in a way that it will be more easy in the future. In a couple of videos, I will show you. So, but we start with the first video of the theory that will make us clear what the positions of each letter is. And this is our main focus. Our main focus is we look at the world, and we try to have a focus there in the blue part, and that's the spatial frame. So we try to have everything nearby, because that's the placement nearby, the focus nearby is predictable, is you can count on it. So everything which is further away or which is moving away, you can't count on it. So the only frame which you can really count on it is within that blue frame, and the focus there in the middle is almost our 0 point, let's say, but it is also the 0 point of steady definitions. That's the first foundation of also the theory. In the multiple dimensions, you have a couple of focal points so that you can make the multiple dimensions available much more clearly in how they behave and so on, when we use these focal points at the right positions in that stability. Here the stability in space is in 1 point that you can see there. And there we define our first letter, the A. It's our grounding level. You can see it is, and you can remember it like that. I will have some definitions that you remember the very foundations of each letter, how it's used in every letter, in every word, in every language. It's used in the same way, because the positions in time and space are the same in every language. It's this, and of course, I can also, the letter A is not written down in the same way in each language. I can talk a lot about the letter A to start with, but the foundations as something in time and space are somewhat comparable. It is a starting point, it's a grounding level. Where will you start to use your grounding level? Of course, some scripts will use it already in the astrological sky. Some will use it in the ground, and you make a lot of comparisons. It will be comparisons that are also a balance between elements in the way that we say, okay, this is our starting point of organization. In any case, it's a grounding level. I use the Roman script, and I will describe the Roman script basically, but there will be a lot of comparisons to other scripts. But that's another chapter if you really want to go deeper into that. The grounding level, that's the letter A. And it's the perspective. You see, here I am here before me, and the lines are going to the horizon. There's a small area that you see there, which is the stable area. That will fit with the flat earth theory and thinking that there are no deviations, so you don't sense an adaptation, you don't sense the adaptation towards gravity, you don't sense that an instability which you sense when movement is not in a stable way. When there's a movement that you are in a train of 200 an hour and the movement is stable, you don't sense it. Also there, the number 1 has a certain range where you don't sense it. You don't sense the movement. Movement is, you sense only movement when there is when you have to, when there's a deviation. So I'm not going to go too deep in it, but there's a small area in which the definitions are stable. So you don't have to deal with a lot of it. And it has a certain range, and the concentration of A is on that point. If you compare it with those figures, it's that point where you're going to see down, I think. Now, we're here focusing on that point. That's our grounding level. The first letter in one point, in one focal point as well. And even if it is related to what can go further away, there is a connection to timing as well. The timing is in the moment of now as well. It's now and at the place, but the timing doesn't matter here. It's about placement. So this is the first level. I'm talking too long already about this letter. Let's go to the next letter. What is the next letter after A on this orientation in space? It's our orientation letter. When you use our orientation letter, we had first a horizontal frame. That was our frame of our surface on which we base upon ourselves. So that this is the stable platform, the flat platform. Now the orientation level says, okay, no, but I orientate also to a certain point that I can use, that is practical for me, and that is a vertical orientation. So if we use it in the balance with all the world, we already have to deal with points of meeting points. These meeting points in the infinity here is there as well. At the horizon, we focus upon that. It's a reality which goes beyond our perspective. Our perspective of the flat earth is extremely limited because we don't deal with where we cross the point. Until the horizon, it's practical, we can still use it. That's our orientation level. We can use until there. And if it's further away, we can't use it anymore. Because there, the mathematics, the things will become different, the ideas will become different and so on. But until there, we have an orientation level and a practical point of reference. The next attention level is the vertical. The vertical is also, and you have here the point again, against A. It is when the orientation point, very far away, is not usable and it's moved away, it's further away, so it moved, so we have to deal with an instability. It's our attention level, and there, from that moment on, we cross also the border of our orientation, our basic orientation. We have to deal with other things as well. Just imagine that orientation to like in perspective moves to the side. How does it come? What do we deal with? It's that attention that goes away from the first orientation point. That's the way of thinking of K. In the meanwhile, I can already say like that I had to also include a little bit more practical way, like if we put words together, if we put the letters into the scheme, how can we read them, and what will decide how I can read them. Of course, the order of letters will be in the 1, 2, 3 order. They have to have a certain distance so that I can read them well, and the distance is enough, like this, and into the 1, 2, 3. Within this half region, I can put it again into 3 parts, and then I can understand where I make a distinction. So I will use that distinction to add more words to it. And I will have an example. I have the first word I have already is ka. So what I have is I follow my you have a moved attention of your focus, of your orientation, of perspective. Just let's put a it's very simple upon that orientation, and then I see already that my attention of orientation moved. Very simple. The attention level moved. That's what ka is also. Ka, the meaning of ka is it gets your attention. A is centralizing your focus, but it moved. So where is my attention going to? That's the question that is brought forward by this combination. It moved, but where is it going to? Where is my attention going to? I can't have a centralized attention anymore because it moved. So that was my first question, ka, the first question. If I see that this is my new orientation, then I define it as T. So, and then I have the word cat. My attention moved elsewhere and I made it practical. So I use it cat. Is it very readable? Not very much. So I have to move it along as well, because I have to follow 1, 2, 3. Here I have K, A, and T. It's readable. It's readable enough, and it shows you my attention level moved. Where did it move to? Into my scheme. It moved into the second position, a different vision, a different opinion, a different person. So, and that's what happened with cat. Cat is also the word which means cat. So it's a Dutch word also. It is a vision of a change, but it changed its position, but it also changed towards a different vision, a different opinion. So the cat not just moved away on the same level, because all these letters are on the same level in the physical plane. It moved to its own vision. So we started from our own opinion with a middle point and so on, but this middle point moved, and it moved towards the other. The cat is an expression of the other a little bit. It has a different vision. It has a different opinion of its own. It moved completely away up to that part where it also has its own conditions. That's the way I have to think. That's how the letters organize, and that's how the meanings organize themselves with it. That's the way how letter combinations work, not just as an orientation, but also with its meanings. It takes a bit of of practice to recognize all of it, but the more you know what's going on and you see these different positions, you see how they move along. I will use the word upside down and see where it gets me. I have the word tack now, keep on the same level. It means branch. I can't see very well how this moves in this case. I have the T, the A, the K. So what I didn't do is an adaptation for the centers, and that's the last thing to do. When I also follow the formation process, I also have to follow the centers which are already there and the changes of centers which are already there. Each of the letters has a center on its own, the T at the vertical, the A in the horizontal in the middle, and the K at the side. How can I combine them? There's a method for it. Because if you don't do that, and you just see, okay, where did it move to? It moved up, and then again it moved sideways, and then again it moved. There's no logic in it at this point. The only thing I can see is, yeah, okay, I started from a certain position, it moved, and yeah, where the K moves to, it is completely off. That's all I can derive from it. But when I follow the order and I respect the order and also respect what each letter represents, I come to a different solution, because when I put the centers on top of each other of the centers that are already received, it means that, for instance, if I have a connection on my tips, I have to connect to the tips. If I have a connection to the middle, I have to connect to the middle. So where am I now? I have a center away from the middle there, a bit further away. And when the next letter is a centralizing, I have to centralize my A around that T. So that's what I do. So I have T, A, and then if I put K just very simple on top of it, which isn't entirely correct because it's at the side, so I also have to move it aside if I'm really correct. But here it is already becoming more available, the content which is connected there. The tag means branch, so we are already very close, but I have to go to the side as well. So I have to upwards, so vertical, horizontal, and then diagonal, and by this movement I have the branch. The branch is going its own way, and it's going again, it moves to a different opinion, a different idea. The branch also, just like cat, comes into the second position to my conditions. I find the conditions, and here I can find the conditions in timing and space, or the connection between timing and space. Just at the edge I find the connection between time and space where it is, and it moved away from my center, and it moved away to it split at almost like going towards a different direction also. And there is still a logic. It follows it a little bit more clearly this way, but I can understand what's going on. I can understand what's going on in TAC. I can understand what's going on in CAT. It's the way of thinking. I will use it with different words in the next couple of examples in other videos. But let's go now to the other letters, because examples could make it more difficult. But what I see is, of course, from my own starting point view onwards, my attention wanted to go to an objective. My attention immediately moved to a different place, and it breaks off course and goes towards what is different. That's the branch. It goes to a different thing. It has, and I have it into this 1, 2, 3 order of letters. And when I compare it to the branch, which is literally, and I took an example from the internet, branch. The first one I took, that was a little bit like a simplified version. I put it on it, and I'm immediately there where my attention moved, how my attention moved. It moved away from my center, breaks away, and it breaks away, and it goes to a different direction. And when I presented the branch as a mindset in my brain, how we organize our organization, how we recognize forms as well. It fits onto that scheme. This image has the same coordinates, which already, it's not just one example, it's not a proof, but it is already showing that we deal with that. We're talking about positions in time and space. There's also space and time involved, but simply looking at space, it is about space. The letters are about space. We see how this moves us away, and there also we can do something else with it at some point if you want. And how can we determine then the next level? We have ATK, ULB, CMX. The first level on space, or about placements, are in one point into the one pointed organization of placements. ULMB will have 2 points or 2 differences, and the CMX will have 3 differences within that 1 point of orientation. What's the size actually that we have to have? Because U is the A is the full size. Can we use U also in its full size and have it? No, it's a bit smaller. It's within the region. It is forming itself. It will have more distinction. So it will go to a lower size and go also to a smaller size. So the U will have this kind of size. Just break half of it of the half, and we have the correct size. But it's focused upon one middle, so here's the U. And here's the arrangement where the U lies. That's the more exact size, the exact position of U, and exactly how we can understand the letter. How do we have to understand the letter? I'll explain you in a moment. We had already A in the background, you remember? It was this focus of orientation in which there was a horizontal plane. That was the idea of, this is the stable area. But the stable area we defined simply by the point in the middle. How big this was, this area that was definable, which is countable, we didn't know yet. We didn't focus upon that. There is a certain range in which there is a stability, in which we have an objectivity, in which we can keep it the objective the same, we can keep the definition intact. It has a certain size. We define it as 1, but actually we only know its middle point. Now we're going to focus a little bit closer. So each letter will also go higher and higher and higher in the system. You will notice that as well. But you also have to go to the sides, of course. You have to see, like, okay, we have the middle already. But what's the range of this? How can we determine what works? So from where to where does it work? From where to where is something definable as being stable? We want to have a stable, an objective, and that's defined by U. So U, in a way, is the first split of an attention. The attention was first on one focus and say, okay, this is it and this is it. No, we have to define it. That's what the language is also about. If we have to understand each other, it's not what I am right and you have to listen. No, we have to look closer and see. But until where is it right? Until where can I count on it? And that's the first. After K, which was the first doubt, actually also like, it's going somewhere else. There might be a deviation. How do I define that, and how do I know what is my stable point? U as a starting point, which is from my starting point, and it goes to somewhere, and it will have a certain range. My attention has split now into a start and a beginning. It's already the starting point of time afterwards, but it's not time yet. There is already a starting point and an ending point. We know where we start from. That's what we are sure of. We don't know where we end to. Nothing is known where it will end to, how long it will work. That's experience what we need. But at least we know our starting point, and also we know where it will go to. But we have to follow it. We have to follow it up with the U from following it up. We have to, we don't know yet where it will land in the end. And when we define it again as within the perspective, we know that it also depends how good we are looking into the reality. We could, if we look closer, it will become bigger. If it's going away from us, it will become smaller. And maybe we don't reach the reality in such a big way as we have. So our focus might not be so much in the middle as we think. It might not have been so developed as we think. It might have been further away from what we think that it is as close to us. We try to find a neutrality close by where it is one, but it could be smaller or it could be even larger, and that's what it can become. Smaller or larger from what we achieved already, from what we received already, or what we make from it already. And they are defined also by the two versions of letter U. The U, which is the lesser part on top, and the U, which is the larger part beneath. So when it's U, it's still further away. It's further away. We don't have it yet. When it's U, we achieved already more, maybe more than it is even needed. So that can also be defined. It's a way of orientation. What we do with it, how we associate it further, that's something else. But that's how we can find a starting point of these definitions. The next letter, the L. The L, so we had already one orientation of the horizontal in two positions. Now we go to the vertical in two positions. So we also start to find a comparison between the part that is less developed on top in the U part, let's say, and another part that is well developed in the U part. You can see that it is growing. It is growing in irregular shapes, like the L is. It is, and we have a certain range, and we already achieve certain things. It has a certain size. It has an amount of appearance. Sometimes less, sometimes more. It is varied between these 2 points, and that variation is the definition of L. It's this amount of development. That's the definition of L. When we go further and we go back to these points of what we received, we also have the diagonals. And the diagonals means that we here focus again on these two outer ranges of what we achieved. We have sometimes we know more, or we achieved more, and otherwise we achieved less. It's in between these zones again. We try to estimate it better and better and better with a B. And this estimation is also about how much it evolved, in the meanwhile. Some things have evolved a lot, other have evolved less. It's also, like the L, varied, but we know where we, as starting points, started from, and where what we already received via B, what already expanded. That's what the B is expressing, its expansion. Go to the next level, the C. I put the basics here in the big scheme, but it's of course defined in a smaller space. It's at the edges. So where is it? You could say the size is there, but it's also about the middle. Can I put it there? Now I also put it, that was one of the possibilities that I could use it there because our focus is going away. So I could also say, okay, then I let it go away. Now let's go focus on to this one point again. So here's my C. Here's my C. So how do I understand it? Let's compare it with the ABC. A, in the background, is my orientation of the perspective. B is the expansion. So that you have the amount of expansion. And the C actually compares it once more with the sense of reality. So how much the last category is always about the limitations, about realization. I have to be careful. The last zone, the red zone also, this is always about I have to be careful. Something is changing. I have to be careful that I'm still focusing well. So I'm making with the C a comparison of where am I, what did I define already, F1 in the middle, and what is there as an evolution. So I need 3 points actually to make that comparison. I make that comparison that some points were far away, otherwise are closer by, more developed, less developed, but I have a definition which is true, which is clear with the C. And that is what my focus is about. It's that kind of estimation. So I compare like how much changes that are already going on, but also how they compare to each other. Next letter is the letter M. Now we went from the horizontal comparison to the vertical comparison. So also here the variations of enlargements will be compared in a vertical way, in a way that you say, okay, how much did the things grow already, and where do they grow to what kind of sizes? So the M is the maximum of all the arrangements. We see to how far up do we can we see already? How far do we have already a range of a definition? Even if it's incomplete and so on, there's a certain range, and we take the maximum of the range here in this focus. And the last one is, again, we have the diagonal. Then we also see like how far away is it, how far did it move away already, and how close by am I already, and how far is close by and far away moved again for it. So how much is my span? So more and more I'm in defining the full space. I'm trying to see, okay, what space range do I have that I still control, but not just of control, but also from even to the far edges with X. And that's the last letter of the spatial frame within one focus. And you understand all letters. And once you understand these focuses, you can start to play with these focuses as well. Don't over remember all the positions and comparisons and so on, but understand what's being said. Later we will play with it. Anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this one already. The next video will be about not about the focus in one point, the stable positions in space. It will be about the timings. What kind of timings can we plan? Do we need to plan? And what do we deal with that at that point? And that's also a different way of thinking, and that will be explained next. I hope you enjoyed. Leave a comment if you like. Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.